Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm sitting here with Mike Benz. Say what up, man.
What up?
What's going on?
How you doing?
You good, man? I'm glad to have you on. We've been chatting about it for about a week or so I'm glad to get you on here. So you are a VJ, uh, visual creator. I don't know if that's the correct term. I know VJ.
Pretty close.
You were telling me
Yeah,
before,
that works.
but to give people an idea of what you do is you have your so your Instagram is Trippy Tapes, which is how I found you, correct?
Yeah.
And is that like your VJ name, your visual
Yeah.
creator name? And
Yeah.
I'm only calling it a visual creator because I didn't know the name the term VJ until you told me. So
Yeah.
for VJ, and I'm saying visual creator because so people understand that you create the visuals that we might see on that are on screen during a DJ's set or something like
Correct.
that. So the correct term is VJ.
Yeah. So
And
VJing is
yeah, tell me about it, man.
VJ would be like the name of the person that's like mixing the visuals on screen. So
Okay.
that's like, and then like VJing is like the art form. So it's like same thing as like DJing. There's like DJ who's DJing.
So there's somebody that is, and again, I don't know much about this whole realm and this whole world, but I think it's freaking awesome. So there's somebody that is um doing the own, like moving the visuals, how they're supposed to move
Yes.
to the music and stuff at the same time the DJ is up on stage doing the music,
Yes.
essentially. I did not know
I
that.
I did not know this either up until like maybe 2.5 years ago. And when I found out what VJing was, it was like just shocking to me. I remember I was at Summer Camp Music Festival, and I think it was we were going to see the artist E-Prom. For anybody out there that knows who E-Prom
I
is,
knew who you promised. Okay, cool.
dope as shit. Uh, but they were like somebody had brought up the like, oh yeah, like something about like VJing, or I was like, and it had never even occurred to me at the time,
Right.
like that
Yeah,
was a thing.
I didn't know those.
Like I was like,
Learning
oh,
about it
like
right now.
right. You'd think that there's like either it's like some pre-recorded thing. Most people like if you're like me, I didn't even like think about it. But once I found out about it, I was like instantly intrigued for life.
Yeah,
So
I'm like thinking about all the big DJs that I know and can think of, and what like the biggest one comes to mind visual wise is Excision, and
yes,
so he's got somebody that is what sitting in the like sound booth area,
yep,
and
yep.
they're on the, are they on a computer, or are they on a, they have their own, how
Yeah,
does
so
that
I
work?
can actually I had it right next to me. So yes, they're in the sound booth. So usually in the sound booth you have like um obviously for bigger shows it like differs, with
Hmm.
really big productions. It's like a ton of fucking guys in there. But there's almost always like a guy who's controlling the lights,
Right,
which
I
is
mean, right.
in software itself. But all that is like done live basically.
Okay.
And then there's like the sound guy who's like checking the levels for everything, tweaking everything. And then there's either one VJ or two VJs or however they have it set up. But so I use a APC 40, which is very similar to like a lot of producers and DJs use the APC 40 too,
Gotcha.
just for triggering clips and doing live performances. So a lot of guys use different tools. Some guys don't really have a very basic setup. Um, but yeah, I
So that
mean,
you're up there like twisting. I didn't really see the full board. I know you just put it up,
yeah.
but so
So
you have like buttons and knobs you're hitting to cue a certain visual or way it moves or
yeah,
something like that. Is that correct?
yeah. So the interesting about like VJing is mean, it depends, but usually when you're seeing visuals, uh, it's not like you're always just like seeing like one visual. A lot of the times these are layered on top of each other, and that's kind of how they're like mixing things in and out of the show. So
Okay.
very
Okay.
similar to how like DJs have decks,
Right. Right.
VJs also have decks. Sometimes they have two visuals going together. Sometimes they just have one. Sometimes they have five.
So
And
yeah,
then
you're layering to get a certain like movement of the visual, like someone
certain
will
look,
a
yeah, or
certain look
movement.
or
Uh,
movement.
but yeah, Yeah, and then obviously there's all different types of effects that are also like layered on top of that, which can be controlled with the knobs or with different sliders. So yeah, I mean everyone does it differently,
Right, right.
but I think that's what kind of makes it cool is that like people have their own different style and
It's
you know
like
different.
it's a whole art form within itself. In the
Yeah,
whole that unfortunately you don't get as recognized, I guess, as the artist itself, but you're at least part of that team, and you're making your own art form that goes with what their art form is. It's kind of
yeah,
cool. I mean, obviously, visuals are now a huge thing in the
yeah,
industry. I think that's been very apparent. I think almost in like the last 2 years, I feel like a lot of festivals now are like bigger screens.
yes,
Like a lot of them at first, I feel like the first couple ones I went to had like a lot more like lights, and they had a lot more of almost like panels. They had separated screens and
yes.
stuff like that. And then I feel like in the last year and a half, 2 years, it seemed like everyone was getting like bigger screens, like giant, one big screen or three big screens behind somebody. So it's like there's a uh,
Yeah.
more visuals being seen than
Yeah,
before.
totally. It's definitely like more of an emphasis on the show to have like good visuals. And a lot of like was really interesting when I first started. There's different ways like based on how the shows go down, but a lot of the big DJs that go on tour or producers,
Yeah.
like they have their own DJ with them, like
Right. That's
tour.
what I thought you were. Yeah, it's kind of what I figured you were saying is they're having somebody that is full time, like their
Yeah,
VJ the entire time.
yeah. But in the
And
smaller shows, a lot of times like it won't be for smaller gigs it'll
mhm.
be like whoever's putting on the show will hire a VJ who will do like the whole night.
So you're like, yeah. So at like at a club or something, somebody is doing like an EDM club. Someone's hired out to do the whole night, like all five DJs or something like that.
Yeah, for like
Essentially.
smaller
Hmm.
smaller productions, totally. And then what's really interesting is like so it's a great way to especially for the VJs because then you get to try out your own material for different
Ah,
acts.
see, I never thought about that. So there's like a whole world of you're making it to the top in a sense too. So you're starting out just like any DJ or producer at like a club, and you're doing a club for a whole night, and you're getting your and then someone might go, hey, I liked your visuals a lot. I'd like you to start only doing it for me. And then as you
Yeah,
progress, you can buy more software, I'm assuming, and buy more different. I don't know what. So what is it? I'll lead into that then. What is it that you guys are? I'm sure it's some form of software or something that you're using to create your visuals. Are there different levels to that, or different things you can like buy to make it better
yeah,
and get it bigger and better?
yeah, totally. So the main software people are using to do the actual DJing itself. So like how we said, like mixing the visuals to the audio.
Yeah.
Most people are using Resolute
Say
to
that
do
again. I couldn't hear. I'm sorry.
Resolute.
Resolute.
Yeah, so RESOLUME.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
That's how most people are doing like mixing at a live show. Now, some people, so Resolute has like built-in like sources that you can use to actually like create the visuals.
Mm-hmm.
So you can take something starting as a laser, and then you put on a series of effects to that. You set up different controls to sync them to music, and so you can build a visual in Resolute like with the sources they have built into the software to create stuff.
Gotcha.
But a lot of people will use like Cinema 4D, Blender. That's like there's like 3D animation sources to build individual visuals in there, and then they put them into Resolute. So they usually build out like loops, call them like VJ loops,
Okay.
and then that's like when the craziness really begins because people start layering those loops on top of each other, and putting on effects to those. So yeah, those obviously there's another one that I'm gonna butcher it, but it's like synthesia is I
Okay.
think how you say it, and you can make some super fucking sick there's a sick stuff, and there's a guy Sigmatel Visuals who makes some dope ass fucking stuff in Synthesia.
So when
Yeah,
That's crazy. So like when you mention like layering a certain visual, like for you gave the example like you have a laser and then you can do all these different sources to it. What is it that like kind of dumb it down almost for me in a sense of like
yeah,
so you can layer it so that the laser like what like goes in a does a loop, it does like a swirl or something
yeah.
like
So you
that or
can basically start like animating parameters.
okay.
So say I have I'm trying to VJ a song that's like 120 BPM.
Okay.
I can animate the size of the laser to like expand, let's just say like expand in width to match the speed of the song. So, if it's like a pumping kick drum, it will like expand to
Okay,
that
okay.
and stay in sync. And that's just obviously a lot of people use like different mirror effects. Um, Resolume has like these great like they're called linear cloners. So you clone whatever object you're using, break it up into like 1,000 pieces. Um, Obviously, like color is a huge part of it. So the thing I actually love about Resolume is like animating like different color parameters. So you can set up things so that like your animate. Let's just say you just want the kick, right? So like every time you hear the kick drum, it is
It
like
does a
pumping.
certain thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So things get really interesting when you start layering those different elements on top of each other.
And so you can layer it to a specific, like you're just saying, like a specific beat drop or a specific tone. You can get it to where it will do it only, when it hears that or something like that.
Yeah. So basically, you have a slider for like frequency range.
Yeah.
And you just like can isolate where the kick is, so the effect or whatever you're animating gets triggered at when that frequency comes through.
Dang, that's fascinating. That's crazy to me. That's like
It's crazy to me too,
there's
man.
a whole science behind it that like I as a consumer, I guess, someone that goes to the festivals, as a raver, I should say, as a festival goer, you don't really think about what you're seeing on the screen just besides like, oh, wow, that's so cool. Like you just kind of sit there
Yeah,
and you're like,
I
dang, that
know.
was cool. And then you look at your friends and you're like, did you see that visual? Did you see that
Yeah,
visual? Like, and they're like, yeah, that was crazy. And then that's like the extent of our knowledge on it. But
right, right.
you're blowing my mind, and we're only like 15 minutes in here. It's like there's just so much work that gets put into it. So how long does it take to say even make the most like basic like visual? I mean, I've seen visuals where I think those are cool too, where it's like a canyon and you're like going through the like something simple
Yeah,
as that, like you're just going, you're following this thing through a canyon or something like that. Like how something to me like that looks, I could be wrong again, but to me like something like that where you're just following a path
yeah.
seems almost very simple, but is it? I'm just curious now. Okay.
It's interesting. Like, so one of the things I will say is, I used to like make music and produce music. The one thing I like about visuals is like, obviously you can spend months
Yeah.
could spend months on creating a scene or a series of looks within a scene, make them perfect, make the lighting perfect, make the shadows perfect, like model it
Hmm.
be just the way you want it. And people do that, right? Like, but you like to answer your question, like you could turn around a visual in 2 hours. But you only, you have to know what you're doing
Okay,
to
yeah,
get.
yeah. So does it work as in like is an artist or a music producer coming to you with a song and then they're saying like I want you to make a visual for this? Or do
Yeah,
they is that really how it is? It's like here's a new song I'm coming out with in, 2 months. Let's have it ready in 2 months. And then they kind of just give you the beat and all that.
yeah. I mean, kind of, yeah. Like, obviously people have different styles and people have their own branding,
Right. Hmm.
right? So it's like you have to. If someone comes to you and is like, "Hey, I want you to make a visual for this," like definitely like look into like their page and previous work that they've had, their album covers or previous visuals that people have been made for them. So don't, I try not to. I try to kind of do some investigating to see
Yeah.
like what's this guy kind of about,
Of course, of
Like
course.
what themes or what colors am I seeing like consistently?
Yeah, know
Uh,
your customer kind of.
yeah,
That's the
right. Like
market. That's the
you're
marketing in you right there, man. You
yeah, it's
got
marketing, and it's one of those things where like some guys give you no like direction whatsoever, and that's almost kind of like super fun because then you're like, oh fuck yeah, like,
you just go
I'm
with
gonna
what
really
your gut
explore
kind of
an
says.
idea. And some people like might be like, hey, I really liked what you did for this person. Can you make something like that? Like a
Gotcha.
similar theme or a similar style,
Hmm.
and like that's also cool because then you're like, and that goes kind of back to what I was saying earlier. Like, what's really weird about visuals is like you can make a super dope visual and then like you just change one effect,
And
right?
it does
Just
something.
one
Yeah,
parameter you change, it looks completely different.
that
It's
is
a
just
completely different
wild
thing.
to me. That's just crazy. So
And
yeah,
I don't
you
think you
could.
can do that with like, I mean, music's a little different like that. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
Hmm. Yeah, it could change. I mean, yeah, it could make like a song. You take one part of a song out, the song could be horrible after that. People could
yeah,
not even
yeah,
want.
right,
People might
right,
not even want to see it. And yes,
yeah,
it makes it like it makes it different, but at the same time, the music, the way we hear music and music is, it's like you take one thing out of it, you're changing like the whole.
yeah,
Like and it could change for the worse more than likely the better part, because especially with music, I feel like people hear music and they're like, oh, I love that song. I wouldn't
totally,
change anything about that song. But
totally,
maybe besides a remix, and that's different because like when you put the word remix in front of it, you kind of expect like, okay, this is going to be different. Like this
yeah.
is
No,
not going to be
that's a
the
good way
same.
to think about it too. And
Hmm.
like, uh, that's like, people do that with visuals too. They like remix the other stuff, or someone sends you a loop, and then you're like, okay, I put on a couple different small tweaks to this, and it's completely its own, you know.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome. No, I just think it, like I said, to me, like it's just its own art form. VJing being its own art form is now like a whole new game changer for me, because I've never again, like I look at it and I'm like, that's cool. And now I'm like, there's way more behind the screen I'm seeing that's being put
yeah,
into it. I mean, it could might, like you're saying, it could take somebody 2 hours and they could put up this crazy visual and we're like, oh yeah, that's cool. And then they could take 2 months and we're like, oh my God, that was crazy.
yeah, yeah, right, totally. And like back what you were saying, like all visuals are not the same,
No.
So
Hmm.
it's like there's totally different levels. So I'm not trying to like minimize it where it's like, oh, it only takes 2 hours or 2 days. Like if you're trying to make, you might be trying to make something for somebody and you really want to add, like it basically all comes down to like level of detail, like
Right, right.
what kind of detail you want to put into it. But even like getting back to like what you were saying earlier, and I only bring this up because it was like I also was like super curious about this when you see like fly throughs,
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah,
you're
okay.
like like what the fuck? Like that's how I was when I first saw. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like how are they doing it? Is there a drone? Like what's going on here? But what's really interesting, especially like I first figured this out in After Effects, now I'm kind of seeing it being used in Blender, is the way that like when people are like doing animations or whatever, it's like you set up cameras within the scene. So like you set up a camera
Okay.
and then the camera moves through the scene, if that makes any sense. It's
So
probably hard to like
yeah, it's hard to visualize. I'm trying to
hard
picture
to
it now.
yeah,
Like, oh, so it's like, a picture of, let's just do the canyon thing, because I feel like that's very easy to
yeah,
comprehend and visualize. So
yeah,
a picture of a canyon, two walls, a
yeah.
canyon, and then you can have a camera go through the bottom of the canyon
Yeah, so
in a
this would be like
sense.
say you have a still image,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And you want to be like moving towards that image. A really
Oh yeah, yeah,
simple
that's a
way
good
to
way of
do
putting it.
that
Okay.
is just like have it basically make zoom.
Yeah, yeah. It locks
Yeah,
in. It locks in on like a point, and it
yeah,
fixes itself in as it's getting
yeah,
closer to the point you wanted it to go to. Is that kind
yeah,
of what you're
yeah.
saying?
And then what it's really like. So that's just like what a still image would be, would just be like zooming in. But
Mm-hmm.
things obviously get really freaky when you're making 3D models. So like when you're zooming through a canyon or something, like someone has made some 3D obstacle and then you're like going through, and then people obviously layer masks on it to make it look like certain environments. So
So now you've got me thinking of like, so these visual VJs. are almost like they're building like they could they're like the building blocks of almost like a virtual reality
Totally.
to an extent. Or is it
That's a
really
great way to think about it.
is that now do those jobs go hand in hand? I don't know anything about VR or anything like that, but from what
Yeah.
you're describing, it almost seems like yes, because you're like you say, there's visuals you see that are 3D models,
Yeah.
and that's no different than if I put goggles on and saw, you know, visuals of something going around me. It's So
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like the building blocks of virtual reality in a sense.
Exactly. That's
So
a
the
great.
screening, well, like what we're seeing on the screen would be almost like a 2D version of it in a sense, with some aspects
Yeah.
of 3D, and then I know they've started what then 4D is where it seems almost real, like you're fully encompassed in it in a sense.
Yeah. It's really like it's like the illusion of 3D. You know, because it's like I remember
Right.
going to see like when they used to put movies in 3D back in the day,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and they would use certain things on it's like magic when you're a little kid. You're like, how the fuck are they doing this?
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
Still
but
magic to some of us.
yeah, no, totally, totally, totally. But yeah, it's like that's like really cool part. It's like it gets into this weird realm of like this like virtual reality and like uh you know it's sort of like kind of it's like illusions. You know, it's not you're looking at a 2D screen,
Right.
right? You know that, but does it feel like you're flying through a canyon? Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it's weird.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, it is such an art form when a visual can take a person that's in the crowd to another place, or they think that this is, you know, they're like, some visuals look so real. You're like, holy crap! Like this is.
Yeah.
You're like looking around, like is that, you know, like I said, you've had times where like you're with your friends and you're like, okay, did anyone else see what I just saw?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy to me.
Yeah, for anyone who's like really, I just have to. If you're even like semi interested in this, like go look at like you can look up like Beeble loops if you know who Beeble is.
No, I'll go look at
I
them
mean,
right after this.
there's so much, especially if you're really interested in like the 3D and like 4D stuff. Like you can even just look up on Instagram like Cinema 4D. You just go on that hashtag and see what people are making. CD4D and like Blender. Um, those are like the two programs that people just like. I mean, I have only been involved in this in like for like 2 years, and I'm such a fan of it, you know. So it's like it's so cool to even be like
Involved in it.
starting to like even just being like semi involved and like working for small DJs and mid level guys. It's like how can you not want to like just like keep doing this because you see the crazy art people are making, and you're like, holy fuck.
Yeah, you
Like,
see something, you're
so
like,
much
I want to
to
make
learn.
something like that, or
Yeah.
it kind of like feeds off of it. That's good though. I
Yeah.
mean, to me, that tells me you found something you're very passionate about. You found something that now, like, yeah, you know, like we were talking about, we both work other jobs, we're doing some other stuff,
Yeah.
but we have a passion at heart, and it's like when you find that passion, you're almost like you just want to do it all the time. Like you're just like
Right. It
I
doesn't
want
feel
to
like
keep.
work.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like work. I mean, that's the goal of anyone. I mean, you find that passion, and your work becomes play, and because you don't you don't feel like you're missing out on anything. Like
Right.
you're sitting there at night. I don't know about you. Maybe you're on a Friday night and you're doing some VR, you know, VR.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, VJing. I'm about to say virtual reality, VJing stuff, and you're making stuff, and the next thing you know, you're like, crap, it's 2 a.m. and I totally forgot to go meet my friends out. Oh well, it's like whatever. I'll just keep doing this.
And if you're not careful, like you will lose your friends. Like you will be so zoned in to like what I forget who said this, but I don't know, probably like Tony Robbins or something. But they said that like a way to think about like happiness is like doing something that you're like something that you enjoy and you're like extremely focused on. It's kind of like I think people call them like flow states, something, but that's like totally like where you want to get to a point where you're just like so in the zone of like what you're doing that like you're in the thing, you know. And I'm sure musicians have that's like why, you know,
I feel
so
like
make music.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that's something. I mean, again, I almost feel like for you to make it to the level of some of the biggest musicians, you have to have it. I mean, to not be obsessed with it and not want it. I mean, if you think about like the people that are, there's very successful people in every industry, but like and they're successful because it's like that's that's what they want to do, and that's all they want to do, and they're not going to stop until they're at that top level. And yeah, but again, they love it, so they don't see it as hard work. I mean,
Right.
someone has like a famous saying of like, how are you not enjoying your job gonna beat me enjoying my job doing it 24/7? You're gonna
Right.
go and work 8 hours a day and get your paycheck, but I love it. I live and breathe it all day. How do you think you're gonna beat me? Like,
Right.
and not in a
It,
cocky way, but
yeah.
it's true.
Right. It's like it's definitely becomes like the most important thing because you're like it's not even about the money. Like I'd be doing this for no money. Like even if I wasn't getting paid to do this, I'd still be spending all my time doing
Yeah,
it.
I'm just enjoying the ride. I'm
Yeah.
just enjoying the game of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I feel. I love talking to people on this podcast. I love just getting to know. Like I say, this whole podcast for me is about like having guests on that otherwise you don't hear from, and you would never think about what they do. Like for your instance, I don't know anything about this world, but I've been amazed at this conversation, and I love where this has gone because I'm like, holy crap, there's just so much more to learn from you as a person on what you do and your career that you have with it, because there's just so much different moving pieces that we don't know. And I'm like, I want to
Totally.
bring that stuff to life so people can
Totally.
see like, wow, there's more to this than I thought, or there's more to that than I thought. And oh, I've never heard it from this DJ before, but this is what they're really about. Like that's what I'm about. I love it. I love coming here and just talking. It's just great. There's nothing else to it.
You're very good at it.
Oh,
Very.
thank you so much. I'm glad to hear that. At least that'd be bad if I wasn't good at it. Wouldn't be going pretty far. But I went off on a tangent. But I mean, my point of that was like I love it to the point where I mean I'm not getting paid for it right now. I just like doing
Right.
it. I like coming here
Right.
and talking for an hour and a half, 2 hours, fucking 3 hours. Who cares? I just
Yeah.
love it. And then next thing you know, I'm like, oh shit, I gotta get going. Like,
Right. And that there is like there is a difference with that, right? Because I think there's some people like I mean, I honestly I kind of thought this is how I was with like making music,
mm-hmm.
where like and like I was in it. It was like whether it was like VJ or sorry DJing or like making music, like it was so stressful, and I was like so like I remember like going on stage a couple times and like it just I was not having a good time. I thought this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I liked parts of it, but like if I'm being honest, it was like work. And I think like I had
Yeah.
built up this thing in my mind where I was like, oh, this is
This is
you know,
what I
this
want
is
to
what I
do.
want to do.
Right.
And I was like, dude, if I don't want to be doing this on a Friday night, if this is work to me, if it's annoying for me to set up all my stuff and start working on it, it's like it's not for me. And I'm
Yeah.
now I'm lucky that like I did that because there's no way I would have gotten into DJing if I didn't. Even if I was like
Mhm.
semi-successful DJing or as like producer, there's no way I would have got it. I would have kept going down that path.
Yeah,
Like,
thinking it was good, and then
yeah,
yeah, and that's something that's so cool to look back on is your path throughout your career and life in a sense. I mean, like I can look back at stuff and be like, you know, like, and I'm only 22, but I can go back and look at some things and be like, oh, see, if that didn't happen, I
yeah,
wouldn't have been here. And it's so hard at times when you, like you're saying, you might think you want to do something and you're gun ho about it, and then you're in it, and then you're like, I'm not enjoying it. And at the time, you're like, what am I doing? Like, you have that
yeah,
moment of like, what did I do? But then, 5 years pass, and you look back and you're like exactly what you said. You're like, if I didn't get into producing music, I would have never gotten to this point where I found
yeah,
that I really like doing the visual arts.
yeah.
And it's crazy to me. I don't know if everyone has that where they look back on their life and you're like, oh, whoa, this and this added up to this and this, and it's like,
Right.
yeah, it did. Like I would never known, but here we are. Like, and
Right. That's why it's good to try stuff. It's like just
Oh
try.
yeah, especially at our age and even younger. I mean, just get out there and try what you can, because
Yeah.
like you're saying, you just good to try it, because you either, one, you find out you don't like it, two, you
Yeah.
find out yeah, it's okay, I don't mind it, or three, you freaking love it and you like just same thing, you just go gun ho about it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's yeah, like I say, it's just funny to me to look back on some things and be like, wow, this is how I got to where I am right now. And who knows what's
Yeah.
going to happen in the future, but you're like, all right, I'm here right now and I'm loving it,
Right.
but I'm
Right.
here.
Yeah. It's a good spot to be in.
Yeah.
For sure.
So on that note, how did you get into VJing exactly? You mentioned that it was from your producing. So
Yeah.
give us that story about how you got into it, man.
Good. So, I mean, I forgot if I said this or not, but I was at Summer Camp Music Festival
Yeah. Yeah.
in just in Illinois. Um, and like somebody brought it up. You know, it was a very similar thing. Like how I was like, wait a second, like somebody's mixing these visuals right now. Like I did not even occur to me this is a thing. Um, and then so I had a little bit of like, you know, whenever I would make records like with my friends and shit, like
Mm-hmm.
making the cover art for that, and I do a little like design work for my job. So I had some like experience using Photoshop and stuff like that. So I was always like interested in design. But it's a similar thing. It's like when you get into graphic design too. It's like, you know, everyone thinks that you're like, oh, I can do this, and you're like, oh my god, it's so fucking hard. It's so easy to like get pushed away. It's
Right.
like when you start using something like Photoshop or something, you're like why does it work this way? Like who made this? Like why when I click on this button it doesn't just, you know, erase
Just do
or
it.
duplicate
Right.
or whatever. Like it's so frustrating. Uh, but yeah. So the nice thing is once I heard about VJing, I knew I had so many producer friends that like were DJing, and I knew like, you know, just because I was doing social media at the time, I was like, oh man, like wouldn't it be cool to like make stuff for them?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
like
You look at it the other way. You're like, I could do the same thing as them.
yeah,
Or maybe I could work with
well, yeah,
all of them.
yeah, and it also goes back to like the one of the things that's really sick about it is like when if I can make something for you that helps you in your career and it helps me at the same time, right? Like it's like the perfect world, you
Oh
know, because
yeah.
you're giving something somebody, they really appreciate it because
Mm-hmm.
it's like oh my god, like this is so cool. Um, but yeah, it's like, but yeah, so I was definitely like you know, I was doing social media at the time for work, so I understood like the importance of content,
Oh yeah.
just like how you should be, you
Crazy.
know, yeah. So like you know, I listen to Gary Vaynerchuk all the time.
I love Gary Vee.
He's
Let's
the
go.
homie, yeah,
He's the homie, the man. I've talked about him a few times on here.
yeah. I mean, I was listening to him like I remember when he's like, yeah, like you should be posting 90 pieces of content a day. 90 pieces of content a day, like
Oh my god.
what?
Even yeah, I
What?
mean
But
even now when I hear that, and he had that one thing he released pretty like maybe a few months ago, the 64 pieces of content a day, and like a
oh, is this
breakdown of
before?
like how to do
Yeah,
it. And I remember
yeah,
looking at that and I was like, all right, like I don't got an excuse now. You
yeah,
just broke it all down. Now can I do it all? Not really. I mean, I
yeah,
try to put out again as much as I can, but he is on to something. At least
yeah.
at the gist of what, not to take away from what you were saying, but the gist of
No,
it
no,
is
no.
like just put out as much as you can. That's all he was
Yeah,
really
put
trying
out
to
as
say.
much as you can, and you're almost never doing as much as you probably like should be.
Yeah.
And
No.
I think the thing he's also getting on is like the platforms aren't built to post like one project a month.
No, not at all. I think yeah, and I think that's like the main takeaway from what he's saying. He's you know, obviously he can put out 90 pieces
Yeah,
of content a day. He could put out 145 because he's got a
right,
team. At least the way I view it, and
exactly.
people might disagree, but he's got a team built around him where as long as he's saying stuff, they're capturing it, and then they can just do what they want with it. And he
Right,
might say like, "Oh, I want you to put that in this and this and this," but he's not physically sitting. He used to definitely sit and do it himself. Now he's got a team, and
right,
I see that, and I'm like, yeah. But the like you're saying, the main goal of what he was trying to say is Just put out as much as you humanly can.
Right.
And if you're only putting out 1 or 2, you're not doing enough. Like exactly
Right.
what you're saying.
Totally.
I'm sorry, I went
Yeah.
on a tangent about
No,
it.
no,
Go,
no.
keep going.
So,
You,
yeah.
got me.
God.
You got me riled
Love
up. I'm
talking-
ready to go.
Yeah, I can talk about it. We should do a whole episode just on Gary. Okay.
Why not? Maybe he'll see it for both of us.
But yeah. So I definitely knew I was like, okay, like I have some experience using Photoshop. Like maybe I could somehow like make content, and then like combined with like hearing about like what VJing was. So I was like, okay, let me just like look it up. Like, what is this? You know, how much would it cost to like download software or even make this? And what was nice about it was just like everybody like searching on Reddit or wherever I was searching, everyone's
Yeah.
like Resolume. Like it was like hands down. It was not like competition between programs
That's
to
good.
start, and it's like Resolume. Like start using Resolume. So I was like, okay, got it. And then the nice thing is Resolume, like anybody can download it, and they have like anyone can down, and you have full access to the program.
Wow.
Nothing's hidden. It's not like you don't have certain features. Full access, and basically all they do is they force this like Resolume watermark that comes up like every I don't know like 8 seconds, like enough of it to be like annoying as fuck. Like you're like I gotta get this thing off.
Yeah.
So I was able to like play around in it and start like making things. And the nice thing was, I was like, it was so amazing to even just layer videos on top of each other, and even just put in like simple mirror effects. So I was like wasn't downloading. I was like ripping videos of like planet Earth, and just like putting like weird inverted like the inverted RGB effects.
I would love to see some of those early visuals you did, man.
Yeah, like it was, and I was like, oh fuck, man, like I can make this tiger. I can give him 4 heads. Like sweet. Like let me export this. So it was definitely, I was definitely hooked. Like within like the first week, but it cost like, I think I paid somewhere around like $500 to buy the program. And I remember thinking like, I was like, oh, like should I do this? Like, is this something? Am I really gonna pay like 500? Like, if I buy this program, I better start
doing
like,
it.
I better use it.
I better use it. Yeah.
Like, holy fuck! Like, I don't have a ton of money here, so.
I remember.
But I always kind of knew in the back of my head, I was like, whenever I make these decisions, like whenever I bought something or whatever it was, I was always happy that I did it. Like, I was never like, was like, oh, I can't believe I bought that controller or whatever. So I did it, and yeah, like instantly I was taking like my buddy's songs, like one of my best friends, little plug, Yoke Me Down on Instagram. He makes like dope ass fucking music. He had shared like Dropbox file with me, which is like a ton of his music. And so I just started like making stuff like almost every day for his music. And what was nice was like, he had a lot of different songs in that Dropbox. So I was kind of able to like experiment like super quickly. And I just made the Instagram account, and I was like, okay, like I thought I'd come up with some cool like looks or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, let me just like post it. But I really didn't think I was gonna, because I didn't have like any followers at the time. And I posted a few, and I was like genuinely shocked at like, I didn't get a ton of likes, but I got some. And I was like, okay, I am like all in here. So then I kind of kept working at it, and every day I would just like make visuals, and either for my friends or just like for random people, and just post them in small clips. And yeah, I was totally hooked at like, it did just the progression.
Yeah.
Within like the first couple days, I was able to do some simple stuff. Yeah. And then probably within like the first couple weeks, I started using those sources that we talked about to like actually like build your own unique content like from scratch. And yeah, it was just like, I never was like looking back. It's like, this is perfect.
That's just a great feel when you like are on a roll with it. Especially like, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I'm doing podcasts and I'm like putting out podcasts, I'm like, if I'm putting out one on schedule like I want, and I'm putting them out every week like I want, I'm like, this is awesome. Like, it's just a great feeling. You're like, this thing's moving. Like the machine is moving, and I'm enjoying it, and you're just along for the ride because you're just loving it. Totally. We're trying to talk about content and all that. Have you? I know on your Instagram, Trippy Tapes plug that in right there. Everybody, Trippy tapes, check them out. But I know you put on your Instagram, you have videos of your visuals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Have you thought about using, or do you already have a TikTok or anything like that you're already been using?
Yes. TikTok is by far my biggest platform.
Really? Okay. I did not
Yeah.
know that. I'll make sure to follow you on the TikTok.
Yeah.
But that's good. Good. I was gonna say because there's so many people that
I probably focus the most on my TikTok.
I think that's where you. I mean, again, they tend to have the most potential growth, organic growth. Yeah, as you know from Gary V. So I don't say anything you don't know,
right.
But it's
if you haven't listened to one Gary V video, you have a TikTok.
Yeah, anything recently.
No way you're getting that.
Yeah. I'm personally trying to figure out how to do it for mine, but I'm working on it, and it's weird because I use it. Well, I also use it as a video editor. So you've seen my Instagram, like I told you, my Instagram is where the majority of my stuff is coming from right now, and I use like TikTok for my festival videos because I can put a caption on it. I can put a caption on the video, and then it goes, and then it can go away if I want it to. So then it's just a video. But I've been using that for TikTok, and nothing really. TikTok's not really meant for festival videos like that. So if you go to my page, like the festival videos don't really catch on unless it's like a really, really good one where people are like, "Whoa, that's nuts."
Sure.
It very rarely catches on. But I digress. It's great for editing. Even alone, totally. TikTok is good for editing.
Totally.
But yeah, that's good. You got start. You loved it. You're loving what you're doing, man. That's all that freaking matters.
Yeah.
So have you had any of your friends? What's it like to see your visuals up on screen? That's probably the better question up there, because I'm sure you've had, like you say, you have a few DJ friends in your area and stuff like that, or whatever that you're letting them use. I'm assuming.
Yeah. So it's kind of sucked because of the whole pandemic, like But I like more of my stuff has been used on social. It's kind of hard to tell, like when you send stuff to guys, like if you're not at the show. But I did a show right before the pandemic happened. This guy, Impulsive. So I spent like, I don't know, a couple of weeks just like fucking around with his logo and stuff, and just like coming up with different looks, putting on like super weird goo effects. And he's a rapper, so that was weird within itself, because it's like,
oh wow,
totally different way of mixing. It's not as much like flashiness or strobe, like that. It's more of just like just cuts, in between like the main sections of the song. But it was definitely like I was like more of a legit show to do, and it was very nerve wracking to do it live, because it's not like we're just like sitting back and like just like watching your visuals on screen.
Oh, you had to do it. That's right. We just talked about that. So you had to do it live for somebody. But okay, so how was that? I totally forgot we just talked about that.
No, it's all good, man. I get how it's very confusing. But yeah, it was like I was really like enjoying myself doing it. I was like, so much more so than when I was DJing, where I just felt like I was like super nervous all the time and just like uncomfortable. But it was nice because I had time to prepare.
Right.
So
I think that's a pretty big thing, that like to have the to go up on stage as a producer. I mean, it takes some guts to get, so I know I know people that used to have stage fright and they had to get over it. Or there's DJs like Borgor where he's like, I gotta drink before I go on because I'm like nervous as fuck to go up there. And like you're saying that too, like it was kind of weird getting up there with the crowd and like everyone's staring at me and the music's playing. Some people like, I think that's hysterical too. Is I've had buddies who telling me like, or some of the people, someone I interviewed was saying like somebody told them like advice like don't look at your friends. And so he was up there like ripping some loves, and he like looked over and his friends were just like staring at him, and he like made eye contact with them. He was like. And then it was weird because like I made eye contact and I'm thinking like, oh, they're staring at me. Like, oh, this person's staring at me. Whereas VJing, you're in the back, kind of, you're the sound booth area, and you're just like you're just doing your own thing. You could be up there like ripping it and no one's knowing. You're just enjoying the fuck out of it.
Totally, man. There's way less pressure.
Yeah, I bet.
Like I also I know like what you were saying earlier, that like a lot of people are they're noticing the visuals, but they're not even like thinking about it. So they're not looking at me. Everyone's got their back to me. They're looking at him like performing, and I'm able to just like curate the way I want to, and yeah, it's like
Like we were saying
you know,
earlier, it's such a unique, different art form than the average person really thinks about.
yeah,
It's the way you, I mean, you're in a sense, you're visually interpreting the music.
yeah,
You know, in a cliche type of way to say that, but that's exactly what it is.
yeah,
You're bringing this music to visualization, to life,
yeah,
and that's just, it's one of the coolest things out there, because I mean, think about the big names like again, one who comes to mind is Excision. There's so
sure,
many people that I know that, like, you could put an Excision song on and they're like, that was the T-Rex, do you remember the T-Rex? Like they know
yeah.
exactly.
Paradox.
Yeah, it's that, exactly, yeah, it's that. And then he always even says he's got that visual audio experience, and that's what
Yeah,
it really is. He's got it to where his music can take on, and you're picturing what's going on. Like, you don't have to
yeah,
be at the event to know. You hear a song and you go, oh, that visual is playing right now.
yeah.
It's
And
like,
even like what's so interesting is like, especially because I remember seeing like the parrot. I think that's what it's called. Is like the one that, uh, he did kind of first do this like crazy T Rex type
mhm.
thing. I don't know if he did it at Lost Lands
The
or not.
exterminate. Oh yeah, he does that last line. It's
Yeah.
the exterminate
Uh,
visual. It's the exterminate visual.
is that what it's called?
Well,
Exterminate.
yeah, it.
Yeah, because
That's
he's
the
got
song.
he has a really unique stage setup too, which
Oh,
is like
he
that.
goes.
That is an art form in itself. It's like the stage setup.
Yeah, again, it's just, there's so much more to it than we really think. Like, how did he get
Yeah.
so big? Because he probably spent a shit ton of money on, like you're saying, stage setup, a
Yeah.
VJ, what, the audio that goes into it, the lighting that goes into it, the light.
Totally.
He's got a whole team of people helping him
Totally.
curate his events, and it's something we don't think about. We just go, I mean, I'm guilty of it on my videos I post. I'm like, look at Excision's visuals. Now I'm gonna try to
Yeah.
find who his VJ is and give that man some credit. But for
Right.
real, it's crazy to think of it like you're saying, the amount that goes into it is all.
Yeah.
I'm so
Yeah. And like the thing that I love about it's just something that I'm really trying to dive deeper into is like you had this weird connection where he's like playing a T Rex sound, right? And there's a
hmm
T Rex on screen. Like that level of like
sync up. Yeah,
coordination is
yeah.
like you don't see a lot of it. And you can really like if you took that idea, like let's just say you have like somebody who did like made some huge set with like a bunch of visuals from Africa, and if you get some DJ who's playing like super who's able to like replicate those like sounds, so they're playing
hmm
elephant noises when you got elephants on screen, and like like just take that, like there's a million different possibilities that you could go with to create like a show that would have normally been something, but now it's like completely different. You add,
Right. You add the visual and the
yeah,
audio to come in together. Like you say, it
yeah,
gives people a whole different, like, look on the way it was. I mean, I look again. We were just talking about it earlier with like kind of the evolution of how these stages have gotten to where they used to be like I think of EDC as a big example. Like sometimes EDC has these ones where they're more art oriented and they don't have
yeah,
screens, but then they have their other stages that are very big screens, and it's such a different. It can make an artist way more appealing with the bigger screens than it does with the regular art installation.
yeah,
It's crazy that it can affect our interpretation of the person. Like, yeah, they played a good set on this stage, but the set on that stage was crazy good.
yeah. I think it
Um,
also like could go bad though too, and like I've definitely seen like I mean it's all perspective, right? So certain people like different certain things, but
of
if you got
course.
some DJ who's like playing a strobe at like a super high rate, like you could have people fucking leave because
Oh
they're like, I'm
yeah,
gonna have a seizure because
yeah.
this guy is strobing way too much, and it just becomes a distraction from the music at that point.
hmm
So it's like it can go bad too. But I think most of the times it's like it adds. But even like I know a lot of guys like the one thing that like I'm trying to always focus on is like really having that sync up. And what's really nice is like I can like I can bang on my agency 40 to the BPM and sync it. So I have like full control over it, right?
Right.
Like you know how to jam your head to something.
Yeah.
You can sync this shit. It's not like brain time. But some guys will fuck that up. And I've seen stories on people with like you've had VJs like make excuses and be like, oh, you know, there's a delay between my controller and the screen.
And you're
And
like,
like that might be true. I'm sure it sometimes has happened where there's like some type of latency, right? That's
mm-hmm.
like built in. But like even I've heard other VJs be like, well, you have to account for that. Like, and it's kind of true. It's like, well, if that's happening, like, bro, you better use your slider to switch up the visual at the end of the breakpoint or something. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like, take the syncopation off then if you can't get it synced up at that level. Like,
yeah, don't blame it on.
Yeah,
right. Be accountable.
Be accountable because you could just as much as you can make the show like even doper, you could fucking ruin it too if your visuals are totally out of whack. Music like.
Yeah. And I bet you I could see where it gets a lot easier as you progress up in the field. Like, you know, if you're touring with one DJ all the time, you have a pretty good idea of like, I need to click this when this song occurs and when this happens. Like you get almost on that same page a lot easier than, you know, when you first start. I mean, that probably what distinguishes people from, you know, other VJs from other VJs is the fact that when they are working with multiple artists, they have that quick adjustment, and then a DJ will pick up on that and go, you're going to be somebody that can, one, you're doing amazing visuals, two, you're very like on your game and you can make those adjustments very quick. I want you on the team, you know, at least the way I see it, like what you're saying. Yeah, you gotta be accountable.
Right. Totally.
So have you been to any festivals or anything like that recently? I know it's a little bit off topic. I'm just curious, but anything crazy?
Yeah.
Or was the last one the one that you were like, I want to start VJing?
I went to Lollapalooza last summer. Like 2 days of Lollapalooza, and then I went to a summer camp last summer too. And
so where's summer camps in Illinois as well?
Yeah, it's in like Chickalda, I think is what it's called. It's like, I don't know, it's probably like an hour and a half south of Chicago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't actually heard of summer camp, so I was like, okay, guess Lollapalooza, I know.
It's funny because it's like it's a camping festival, and it's a cheaper one. So I feel like it's like a go-to for like young people because you're like, oh, I can and it's not all like EDM after you. What'd you say?
I can afford it, kind of thing.
Yeah, right. I can afford it. So yeah, it's really great though because I love camping festivals. You know, where you can really like just get to know the people you're with. It's just a whole different environment.
It's a whole different vibe. I mean, my favorite by far so far that I've been to has been Lost Lands. It's one of the few camping ones I'm trying to think. Actually, I think that's the only camping one I've been to. And yeah, I absolutely loved it. It's got a special place in my heart, but it's a great festival. Just like you're saying, you're with your friends, you're stuck in your tents. You know, the party doesn't have to end, it can end, but like there's so much to do with your group, the groups next to each other. I mean, we've made some lifelong friends at the camping festivals that you know we sat next to and bonded for 4 days. They made us breakfast. We made them breakfast one morning, and now every time we go to Lost Lands, we're like, hey, where are you? You know, let's meet up. We got to meet up with you.
Right.
And that's just, I think, the whole rave community vibe. I think that's something that it has its bad parts. There's always Twitter drama or something within the EDM world, but other than that, it's very much a place of where people can come together and be total strangers, and by the end of the week, be like, I miss you so much, and I'm gonna miss you guys, and stuff like that. But
I completely agree with you. It's like if you had to guess, if you go up to somebody at a festival, like if you're guessing, they're probably a nice person.
Yeah, especially, and I've noticed it way more with, full on like we were just saying, like with camping festivals. I've noticed there's a much different vibe of like helpfulness and stuff versus like a festival where it's in the city and it's not just EDM. It's all sorts of people coming together.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a whole different. Not that those aren't fun, because I love, like, I've been to Buku, and Buku's been amazing. But then, like, there's a whole different shift of like this versus this.
Totally.
But it's what it's all about. And then you have amazing people that work there and all that, and everyone. It's just a great community to be involved in.
Yes, everyone should do it. Yeah,
I always say that too. At least once. Go once. At least go one festival.
right.
And
if you can't get over, like, I hear from people, especially like people I work with or whatever, they're like, oh, well, like, like they can't get over the camping part.
yeah,
it's like, well,
for 3 days.
If you're like, there's something wrong with you. Like, if you
and I think it's something, like you're saying, it's something that everyone should experience once. You should go once. You should go have a great time, and then at the end of it, oh, I want to do that again, or no, I don't. But at the end of the day, you had that experience, and that's something that it's going to be an experience that you're never going to forget for the rest of your life. It's going to be that's how that weekend's going to go down. So
and go with the right people. I have, like, there's always those people in your group that, like, want to go to every show. You're like, come on.
I can't go every time.
Yeah.
I want to, but I can't afford it.
For a little bit. Yeah.
Right. That's so funny. Yeah. Well, hey man, I think we're gonna end it on that note. We've got ended it on a great note. You've enlightened me so much on what is going on in the VJ world. I mean, it's a whole, like I said, now to me, it's a whole another realm and world that I never knew even existed till today.
Oh yeah. Well, thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, man, absolutely. We'll have to have you on again. First, I've got to talk more about that stuff for sure, and talk about Gary Vee in Chicago.
Yes. We can get him on,
Yeah, oh yeah. Let's get him on. We'll just tweet at him.
Do it. He does that kind of shit.
He probably would. Trippy Tapes is your Instagram. Do you have a Twitter or anything else you want to plug in?
Yeah, Trippy Tapes on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and then my website is trippytapes.org. Just like still kind of under construction, but and for everybody out there, if you need visuals, please, you can send an email to trippytapesofficial@gmail.com or just send me a DM.
We will. I'll make sure to plug that into the what's it called? I'll make it plug it in the description. Other than that, if anyone likes the show, make sure you please subscribe. Thank you guys.